What's going on, guys? Welcome into episode number 32 of the Ask Tony Show. Fun fact about the number 32, it's the number of one of my favorite basketball players of all time, Karl Malone. I still remember when I was 8 years old, my parents took me to the NBA Finals in 1998 where we got stomped by MJ. We lost that game. I cried all the way home, and I still cry on occasion.
What is the difference between building a house and buying a house that's already built?
That's a great question, and it's one that I've gotten a lot over the last 2 or 3 months because the market is so competitive that a lot of people just don't want to deal with a bidding war, right? They're like, I don't want to worry about multiple offers. I don't want to get into that whole mess. I'd just rather build my house, even if I have to wait a little bit longer. So I would say that there's two main differences when you're talking about building versus buying a home that's already built. So the first one is obviously how long it's going to take. If you start a construction from scratch, it could take anywhere from 5 to 8 months until you can actually close and move into your house. So you have to have some flexibility with your times. You have to make sure that you have a lease agreement, whatever the case may be, because you're not going to be able to move in until 5, 6, 7, 8 months down the road. And because of that, in most cases, and again, I have to have a little disclaimer here that I'm not a lender, check with your lender, but in most cases, the interest rate that you have right now that is available right now is not going to be the interest rate that you're going to have when you close. That's in most cases. So what that means is if there's a fluctuation in interest rates between now and next summer, then your interest rate might be a little bit different. It might be higher, it might be lower, depending on how the market moves. So with that being said, you're never actually going to know exactly what your monthly payment is going to be until your home is almost completed. Again, that's not always the case, but in most cases, you have to have some flexibility there, and you just have to have in mind that your payment could change from what they might quote you now to what they might quote you when your loan is actually being processed once your home is almost completed. But that being said, building a home is really cool. We've helped people do it all the time. I have multiple people building homes now, and it's super fun because it's a new house. You get to pick a lot of the things that are in the home, the exterior, you get to pick your flooring, you get to pick all sorts of stuff, colors. So it's really fun. People really enjoy it, but you just have to have those two differences in mind.
What is the best way to use Facebook ads and the right price to pay?
So I got a question about this last week from an entrepreneur here in my area that is trying to build their brand on Facebook. And basically the answer is the best way to use it is you have to test, right? You have to put out a lot of content, and you have to get really familiar with the creative studio, with the Facebook Creator Studio, and with the business ads manager. So whether that's learning on YouTube, whether that's learning just through practice, but you have to get really familiar with those two iterations of Facebook. And really what it comes down to, guys, is, again, putting out a lot of different pieces of content and learning how to do your segmentation so that you're only showing it to the people that need to see it. For example, if you're a restaurant in a certain area and your food is from a certain country, you want to, in most cases, target people from that country in your area. And you can do that very, very easily on Facebook. Facebook is the best platform when it comes to building ads, creating audiences, and things like that. And when it comes to how much to invest, the answer is always as much as you can. The more that you invest into Facebook, the better results you're going to get, just like any marketing, right? But for some reason, when we talk about social media marketing, people kind of don't get it, right? They're willing to pay $3,000 a month for a billboard, but when I tell them to put $3,000 a month into Facebook, it kind of, they don't really like that idea. But the reality is that that's where everyone's eyes are. And it's the most, I would say it's the most user-friendly platform when it comes to building the ads. Instagram is more difficult. LinkedIn is more difficult. So the answer is as much money as you can.
Where do you see the biggest opportunities in social media?
The biggest opportunity in social media, and it's kind of the low-hanging fruit, it's just in being consistent, guys. I mean, the reality is nobody or very, very few people are doing this the right way. When I talk about entrepreneurs, whether it's agents, whether it's restaurant owners, whether it's insurance agents, whatever the case may be, that reach out to me because they want to start to make content, something very interesting happens. They'll make 1 video, 2 videos, 3 videos, 4 videos, and they'll be very motivated, and then they'll stop. And then they won't post for a week, and then they'll make a bunch more, and then they won't post for a week again. Consistency is the greatest opportunity, because if you can just simply be the most consistent content creator on your platform in your area, you're going to win by default. Now, that is assuming that the content is good, but the interesting thing is if you're making so much content so often, you're going to get better, right? My first video sucked. Now they're much better, and they're going to get better. We're getting more creative, and you just kind of learn along the way. But the biggest opportunity is nobody's really doing this right. So if you can jump in with fresh content ideas, if you can afford to build a team around you, whether that's 1 person or 20, doesn't matter. And if you can be consistent in posting every single day, multiple times a day, over the long haul for weeks, months, years, you'll win.
If you could meet yourself 10 years ago, what would you say?
That's a tough question. I think that if I were to meet myself when I was 19, at that time I was on a mission. So I was in Honduras. And I think that in that context, because I was out there, I would just tell myself to enjoy the moment. There was a time when I was on my mission where I was so anxious to get back home, especially in that last half, the last year. You just kind of want to get it over with and go home. But to just live in the moment and just enjoy every single day, because life changes. You go through different phases. You're doing one thing, then you're doing something different. And one of the things that I've learned is that everything comes at its time, right? And so back then I didn't have a care in the world. I was in Honduras with some of my best friends. I was doing something that I believed in deeply. I still do. And so I felt like I was making a difference in people's lives. It was basically one of those things where I was on top of the world and I didn't even know it, kind of thing. And I was hoping and wishing that I could be somewhere else. So I think that what I would tell myself, and even to this day, is just relax, enjoy the moment, enjoy your life, enjoy your stage where you're at now, because things change and things get different. And then you look back and you're like, I kind of wish I was back where I was. And so just enjoy every day.
Thoughts on podcasting as a marketing tool?
Podcasting as a marketing tool is actually a great idea, but it's very hard to execute. It takes a lot of organization. It takes a lot of commitment. And I'll give the example of the Utah Real Estate Podcast, which I'll tag them here. Somewhere here's their Instagram tag. Go ahead and check them out. But they invited me onto their podcast, and we were kind of talking about this idea, right? How they were using podcasting to market their title company. And I can tell you that it's something that I don't know of any other title company that does this, at least at their scale. So they're really ahead of the game. If anybody out there that is in title is watching this, you're losing to these guys. So check it out. But basically the idea was, and it's a concept that I call the high school party concept. If you remember back being in high school, maybe you were a popular kid, maybe you weren't a popular kid, and everybody kind of wanted to hang out with a certain crowd, right? And so let's say you weren't one of the popular kids, and you lived in a nice area, you had a house with a big backyard. And one weekend, your parents, they go off on a trip, they leave you home, and you throw a cool party at your house. And you invite all the cool kids, and there's drinks, and there's food, and you throw an awesome party at your house, and the cool kids actually show up to your party. Well, now you're kind of a cool kid, right? Because you threw the party for the cool kids. So now you are the cool kid. So that's kind of the way I think about podcasting for marketing when it comes to this title company, Title One. So they're throwing the party. They're bringing entrepreneurs. They're bringing real estate agents, real estate brokers, lenders. They're bringing everybody to the party, which is their podcast. And they have a nice setup. They have a great room with screens and mics and headphones. They have everything. And so they are essentially throwing the party where the cool kids want to go and be. So that's kind of the way that I look at podcasting for marketing. You want to throw the party where the cool kids want to be. And next thing you know, you're the cool kid.